Hello and welcome to this episode of the Moment podcast. I'm here today with Anastasios and Mysterious Stranger. My name is Basareas and we're going to talk about Ragnarok. So for those who do not know what Ragnarok is, it's a very big event in Norse mythology, preceded by what is called the Fimbulvetter, the winter that precedes Ragnarok. And there's a major clash happening between the giants and the gods, the Aesir, within the event of Ragnarok. So Anastasios, you had suggested this talk. I don't know if you wanna take it away first, if you want to add anything to this.
Of course, Ragnarok by itself, Regin meaning the Lord, or the ruler being a reference to the gods, are sitting in judges' stools, like in a sense, lords in a parliament, ready to decide about what they are going to do with something. For example, a classic word repeated in Voluspa when the gods are coming together to talk over one thing, what they are to do with it. It says, "Dagen guregin all arok stola." This rock in Rockstola, by the way, is a part of the world Ragnarok. Means Rockstola are the judgment stools. Gin Halor God. Ok that Götus. So it says, then they went, Gengu, ragging all the lords, all the gods, Arok Stola, on their judging seats, on their judging stools. Gin Hail of God, the all holy gods, Og Umthad Getus, and on this subject they discussed, they conversed. So each time the gods are taking a big action from the beginning of the Norse world, as it is being described in Voluspa, they are coming together to give judgment on some subject. And they are depicted many times having a lot of gold and being playful inside their small garden before the first big war and described in Voluspa, and we have little idea about. The next part is that we see the second part of the world, Rock, in Ragnarok. It is the judgment of gods, but the gods are being judged by something other, being it some cosmic kind of event or some kind of power that is above Aesir, as they are described, the Norse gods, in the sources that come together to our hands through the skulls and through the Prose Edda and Poetic Edda, as it was passed down from manuscripts and tradition. So we see the part Ragnarok inside this poem, and from there we have also this world into our culture, seen it a lot in pop culture, from Thor the movie, from the Marvel comics, from different video games. We see this passage repeated a lot in Voluspa. Geir Garmr Garm was shouting, was barking a lot. Garm is the dog or wolf, depending on the narration, outside hell. Für Gnipaheli, in front of Gnipaheli. Festr Munslitna, his fetters shall slit. And Freki Renna, and the greedy wolf Solran. Skjold vet hon Fruda. A lot she knew before. Framse ek lengra. Much before I was. Ragnarok. About Ragnarok. Rome Sigtiva. The judgment of the victory gods.
That is the opening poem of Ragnarok.
Yes, it is described as the opening point of Ragnarok. It is stanza 43 in Voluspa. And the first time we see this stanza being addressed, it will be repeated at least 3-4 times inside the poem.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it me? But sorry, go ahead.
Yes, like it is a motive that pushes forward the narrative. Each time events happen in Ragnarok, it is a reminder that the wolf breaks the chains and he is going, and then Ragnarok starts.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking, just because I remember, aren't these Odin's wolves? Because Freki is one of Odin's wolves, right?
Yeah.
Correct. It is Gary and Freki. The gluttonous and the greedy.
Yes.
Generally, Freki is used as an epithet for wolf in general, like it is a poetic form to describe a wolf in the Norse poetry. And it means the gluttonous, the greedy for food one,
Mm-hmm.
like a starving wolf in a sense.
Interesting.
And before it, we have a description that Yalarhorn and the two roosters, one of Hel and one of Asgard, they are shouting in order to gather the warriors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we also have Heimdall too, that is involved regarding the beginning of Ragnarok as well, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Heimdall sounds the Yalarhorn in
Yes,
order
exactly.
to notice the gods that they are coming, the giants. So it says in two passages after there is a next passage that describes society in Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
That there is brother Munu Perjas, brothers Solfight, Ok at Bonum Verda, and they're becoming killers. Munu Tisturngard, Sivium Pila. They shall spoil, they shall destroy in a way the bonds of brotherhood. Hard as in Heimi. Everything is hard at home. Hordomr. This is the exact translation in English is whoredom, like fornication.
Mm-hmm.
Mikil, great. Fornication, great. Skekold, an axe era.
Yes.
Gamold, a blade era, a sword era. calm is a small sword. Kildir ru Klovnir, the shield shall be cloven. Wind old, an era of wind. Bark old, an era of hunting wolves, in a sense. Ard, other, Verold Stapis, before the world sinks, the world becomes steep. Moon Engimar, mother, Sol no man, Odrum Firma, other respect, so no man will respect the other. And then it continues in stanza 45. Leica Mimsinir, they are playing the sons of Mimir. It means the humans. And Mnjotudr Kindis at Inu Gala Gjallarhorn. But their fate, in a sense, their part in the world of Mnjotudr is going to be brought, is going to be bought otherwise in the sound of Gjallarhorn. Hat, bless, Heimdall. This Heimdall, at height he blows, bless is blows, horn alopti, a horn on the sky, Melir Odin, with Mims Hovud. Odin talks with the head of Mimir. And then it Alnatre. It increases the old tree. And Jotung Losnar. And the giant is being loose. It means most possibly Loki. That Loki escapes because he's trapped underground.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know who exactly did that again, because after what's his name again? I forgot his name of the god that after Balder died, one of them then called Loki and trapped him in a cave, from what I remember.
Exactly. This god is Skadi, the goddess of seething, like to damage someone, to scar. This is described earlier.
Yeah.
And it is one of the main events that spur forth Ragnarok. This event is the imprisonment of Loki in a very torturous kind of prison where he is helped by his wife. And Skadi is the god that punishes him in this foul type of underworld punishment, in this underworld type of torture. And this commences when Loki participates as the mind behind the murder of Balder, the most beloved god.
Yeah.
So we can talk a bit about Balder as well. And
yeah, I think it would be nice to give everyone some like backstory, like what sets up Ragnarok. Because there's like with Balder, also Fenrir, but let's go into Balder first, because that's one very important aspect too. I would think. of Ragnarok, and that leads to it.
Would you like to describe the children of Loki more and me to take on Baldur right now? Like to
Yeah, I can. Let's go into like you can say about the other children of Loki, like the Jormungandr, the World Serpent. I mean, you have Fenrir and Hel, that are the children of Loki, and yeah, I can go a little bit into that and Baldur as well, because that really sets up the Ragnarok itself. And
so
yeah, go ahead.
having it handy, I will talk about Baldur. He is referred in the said poem Voluspa. Voluspa, by the way, is the poem performed as a narration of a Volva, a Ceres witch that is being taken out of her mount. She is already dead and having traversed the uh, place of the underworld, like having crossed the way of the underworld and being reanimated by Odin through his power of reanimating corpses, which is described as one of his runic powers in Havamal, that he has the ability to raise the dead and talk with them to learn information. Uh, this Volva starts to give him prophecy about the events that are to happen, starting from the beginning of the world and going very far into the future. Seeing the demise of Odin himself and the god, and also seeing a second Ragnarok, a second judgment of God, which leaves the story on a cliffhanger that we are going to address in a bit. But the reason that Odin went to the witch and he had the need for her seeing powers for the future, it is because his son had the most beloved son, that is the epitome of the god. Baldur is the legitimate son of Odin and, and Frigg in the story, the king and the queen of God.
Yes.
And every living being fled to not harm him. And so he got, in a sense, invulnerability and loved by everyone. And he was liked and considered to be the most beautiful God. But he has dreams in the night that he is going to die, that he is bloody. And because of this, and because Odin sees, because of his great knowledge and ability to see beyond, sacrificing his eye and gaining so much knowledge, uh, he is tempted to take what really lies beyond. And he finds out that very bad events are going to happen and that his son is going to die. And Ragnarok is going to commence after 3 big winters.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the simple version.
Yeah.
This is the run of the story. Humanity, it almost dissipates, and the world starts anew after this. But to stay a bit on the Balder part of the story, the series says in stanza 31, Exa Baldri, and I noticed Balder, Blodgum Tivum, the blooded god, Odin's Barney, Odin's Bern, his son, Urlog Folgin, having a faulted faith, Tov Vaxin. It was standing as it was increasing, volume 30, above the height of the valley, Nyor of Nyok, Pagr. Nyor, it means soft like butter, and very beautiful. Mistletoe. This is mistletoe. Mistillas, by the way, in Proto-Germanic,
Yeah.
it wasn't mistletoe. It was another kind of plant. It was basil, most possibly.
Sorry, say that again. What plant?
It was basil, basil,
Oh, basil.
basil,
Basil. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
and
sorry, I just wanted to say regarding mistletoe that I've heard like something said about that because it's like it grows well in winter and Balder. Some have like some scholars have had said that maybe Balder is like like the dying and like a dying and rising kind of deity, so he's like connected to the sun or like something along those lines. But if it's Basil in an older version, that's also interesting. I did not know that.
yes, also something that I learned researching today is that basil, in some sense, it was considered uh, like the plant of hate and misfortune in Roman and ancient Greek society, and that it was also described as a symbol of revenge, of someone wanted to take revenge and so on. That it gives me Loki vibe, and also it reminds me a bit of the way the story is described by Saxo Grammaticus,
Mm-hmm.
that Balder wants a woman called Nana, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
and Hodr is not his brother, but he is the man that Nana really loves, and he loves her too. But Balder has a lot of money and the support of his father, Odinus, that is, because it is in Latin, he is described as Odinus,
Yes.
and he protects Balder in a sense and supports him to ask the hand of the beautiful girl from her father. Her father doesn't want Odr because he is of lower birth than Balder.
Mm-hmm.
And Balder hunts the woman around and also is being faced by Odr a lot of times, but he is immortal. And at one point he learns by Tiresias, Odr, that there is mistletoe, a kind of tree from which they can make a weapon to really harm Balder because he was invulnerable.
Yes.
And then Balder in this version dies like this,
Mm-hmm.
uh, as an antagonist for Hodder, that is the lover of Nana. But these are maybe instances of an older story.
Yeah, but then there's also the one where Loki is responsible and Hodor shoots Balder with an arrow. From what I remember, that's the other version of it.
Correct. And this is the version we see in Voluspa. For example, it continues in the next stanza. Badr ad fame maybe. It became from this tree Hermer Sindis, that was that seemed soft. Harm Flaug Ketlik. It came not ominous, yes, in a way, a, a painful and ominous strike, hit in a sense. Hodr nam skjota. Hodr gave the shot. Baldur, Balds, sorry, Baldr's brother, Var. He was the brother of Baldur, of Thorin's Nema, who was born early. Son named Odin Sondra. That one man he gave the son of Odin, Ein Netr Vega. Being 1 night old, he killed. This is the continuation of the story where Odin needs to, because he cannot punish himself over in the story, because they are, he is his father in the story of Voluspa. So he has to produce another Avenger who is going to kill the killer. Otherwise, Miasma is going to get on him. And so, in order to not get the blame for the killing of his son, he finds a noble girl. I think she's called Rina, and she disguises as a servant here, and he traps her and rapes her in order to produce the killer of his son. A very gruesome story, and it may be as well part of an older narration.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it says he was 1 night old. This son was produced, I think he's called Vali. He was produced only for this act of killing father.
Yes, and from what I remember, is also one of the gods that survives as well.
Correct. And Hodor is reanimated. It's been reanimated after the end of Ragnarok.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a reconciliation of the two brothers.
Yeah.
Hmm. So far, up until this point,
Yeah.
from the opening to the following verses, it sounds almost remorseful when you listen to it, the Ragnarok, when you try to
Mm-hmm.
analyze it. But it's a remorse that comes from this resentment of something that will happen in the future, like a prophecy, or perhaps, and this is like the most metaphysical explanation of it, that Ragnarok is a warning of something that happens in a cycle, that it has come already somewhere. Ragnarok already happened, and this is just the recollection of the memory of this story, but it's the warning of something that happened and it could happen again. It sounds almost like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does.
It reminds me also a bit of how Greek tragedy in ancient poems is being written. Like you have someone getting like blind and getting full of yourself, of himself, and then he commits hubris, an act that offends God or the divine law. And as a second part, you have the nemesis. Like hubris in this case could be considered that God were not aware of the cosmic balance. And in a sense, also, Loki could be integrated. Um, that we can talk in a bit about the psychological symbolism of Loki gods and so on.
Yeah.
Uh, the next thing is that they killed Ymir. in order to make their new great world, he and his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And the third part is the hubris that they were boasting so much that they reached the zenith of their prosperity that even a new person among them, Baldur, the youngest of the gods, uh, became invulnerable. And in a sense, this love and this boasting of the child and this overprotection became by itself like an extreme hubris, like we deny that any harm will come to us and nothing will happen ever. They went into oblivion. They lost the purpose. Beyond the place that you see Baldur becoming uh, invulnerable
Yeah.
and triggering Loki's also envy, uh, it's like a pick for the gods. You see their greed, their pride, and their civilization reach the peak, the apex.
Mm.
I will read two more stanzas
Yeah.
and then we can traverse into the Loki territory and to talk a bit about his children, his role in Norse mythology,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
mhm.
Yeah.
Hapsa on Lygia. They are binded, Siso, Lane, Undrik Vera Lundi, under some hot spring. It might be hot spring, it might be volcano. Leg yarn, Liki. The lover of lie, Liki Loka, Afekyan. Similar to body, like Loki. He is Loki himself. Thar, Sitr, Sigyn. I have heard also a theory that because Loki has a brother, there is a possibility that the extreme things Loki does, his brother is doing, but I don't think so.
Have not heard of that theory before. For me, it was just always just Loki, who kind of like I guess snapped at some point.
Yes, it may be also the trickster by himself.
Yeah.
Thar, Sitr, Sigyn. There was sitting. There is sitting Sigyn. Like the witch has a medium that it is an older witch described in the beginning of story that fought with the gods, and this witch give your sight on the future, like is the medium of her. Feiki sinum. Even if she wasn't about this, farewell, Gliviud, very well happy, very well gladdened. It means like Sigyn, the wife of Loki, was sitting, not being very happy near her husband. Vitud en edachvat. This is a classic phrase in Voluspa. Did you know yet or what? The witch says to Odin. So, and then we have the description of yes, we have a description of hell after this.
I'm just wondering here regarding Loki. What exactly led up to Loki kind of going from a trickster god that was kind of, I guess, well, I mean, a trickster god, but still kind of like semi helping the gods, but also kind of not, to him becoming kind of like an adversarial character. Because something in there. Is it like kind of the binding of Fenrir? Because I mean that's one of Loki's children. I mean next to Sleipnir then too, but like.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that. Maybe he became resentful of the sovereignty, like like the arrogance of the gods with the rest of creation. He didn't saw them as worthy of ruling,
Hmm.
but I guess even it escalated to the point where it was out of his hands once he set up this change in motion. Because yeah, what what will be the natural course of taking down your rulers? In this case, it will be oblivion, not only of your rulers, but also of the world tree itself. A complete reset. Like the price was too high. Still, even when it was set in motion, I don't think Loki could have like regret his own actions.
Hmm. Yeah. But I do think like that what Anastasios kind of was saying, regarding making a space for, I guess, Loki, but I guess like that what is like an anomaly kind of in a way, because he was like half giant, half. Well, he was kind of like a giant in that sense. I think half giant, half Aesir, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he,
Like he's the son of Parbauti and Laufey.
Yes.
Laufey is one of the Aesir, and Parbauti it means first striker, and this is his father. In contrast with Odin, that Odin and Thor, they have Aesir fathers, but their mothers are giants.
Yes.
So in a way, he's the reverse kind of Aesir. And also, I think in the long run, even though he was cool sometimes to see something different, the Aesir also, he was a blood brother of Odin, like a very familial friend originally. We don't know why the story is so. Also, we see Odin, Fenrir, and Loki hanging around in different stories, and also
Yeah.
in the formation of human, we see three figures: Lothar, Fenrir, and Odin. These three gods. Maybe Lothar is the one that gives to humans their looks, and like he is the more bodily sense of the divine.
Yeah.
And that's why he's also so promiscuous and has a lot of jokes that he does. And he also does a lot of mistakes, like he's
Mm-hmm.
trickster, but many times he's getting caught. And each time he's getting caught, he's funny. So in a bit, he reminds me of more an Epimethean kind of trickster and not so much Prometheus. But it can be that he is mixed also with an older deity, this Lord God, that may be connected to love and to love for life. And this God, nowhere we see what is his real, uh, what is his real function in the pantheon of all Norse gods. He is considered important, but we don't see him at all. Only to in the creation of man, given to man, as it says, Litu, and Litu Goda, good look, and La, and Care, and Oz is given by Fenrir, and On is given by Odin. On is the spirit, and Oz is the mind faculty, is given by a god that
Yeah.
has to do with laws and that. Fenrir.
But then, yeah. So you were saying like the original one is connected to love or love of life of this particular deity.
Correct, like maybe Loki or the is a mixed god, the original version of Loki, of this god and a trickster god, and maybe the original god that had to do with the connection to uh, how people are living, how the life is being, the playfulness of life, what is really important because the gods also were taught and promoted by Jotun. Jotun is the previous wilderness of the world before God. For Odin learned his first tricks and magic from Volthor. That means evil giant, in a sense. And Danku, the brother of his mother. And I was wondering, also God came into fighting and becoming stronger, facing adversity, being met by three women of the giant race, the three Jotna.
Yeah.
And I also am thinking about like that the Jotuns, in a sense, because God don't see the world as a whole, are the means in which gods are being pushed to evolve as an adversity. And so Loki challenged them in the things they were thinking they are secure, but they are not secure, and brought them to a stage where they had to prepare for Ragnarok.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of reminds me something that was said to me recently. It has nothing to do with Norse mythology, but it has to do technically with like more kind of like the Hebrew older Hebrew myths. There was like I think it was Samael who was kind of originally tied to love, and that kind of same concept also becoming like an adversary type, and generally can also, because I've been looking the past week a lot into for personal reasons the scapegoat complex. to like look at that for the book I'm writing. And from one book that I read about that, there seems to be this similar kind of theme going, where there's something that's like a figure connected to like either like a kind of like a trickstery psychopomp figure connected to instinct, kind of trickstery love, but also like the love of life kind of figure that then ends up later on clashing with the kind of like with the sky gods, the celestial gods, mostly due to what it seems to be. I don't know, like it seems to happen like in myths once humans build society, and there's no place for this kind of like archaic figure because it doesn't neatly fit into the structure of society. So there's no space for it. That seems to be, I don't know, like one thing that comes to mind for me at least when I think about this. We can later like go deeper into it, but that's just one thing that came to mind for me. That might be, going on there.
In a Jungian sense, can he be connected to the trickster archetype?
Loki, yes. Loki is the trickster archetype, and with that, his domain is the shadow. So everything that's repressed into the unconscious becomes his domain in some sense, like from a Jungian lens. And he becomes kind of the symbol of that.
Is the trickster like the lord of the subconscious?
Well, the shadow of the shadow, yes, it can. It's one of the figures that that is the mediator between consciousness. So that's often can be seen as like the celestial gods versus the underworld and the so the unconscious. But there's also different. There can be different figures too. Depending on myth. There's like the Greek Hades or something is like a lord of the underworld, but like the trickster figure also is like kind of a mediator, tends to be a mediator figure, but can also become an adversary as well. And it's kind of like, I guess it's about balance, very much so, about trying to bring balance between consciousness and the unconscious. But then if these elements get all repressed, then it can come up like a volcano, basically, and things go very fucking wrong. On like a personal or societal level. Then it goes boom.
Also, it reminds me a bit how originally the children of Loki were treated. Like, if I remember correctly, he was with Angry Boda, that in a sense meaning the angry layer. Uh, it has to do with the angry, the lustful, and the greedy part of the mind. And in a sense, this force that he mated with created three great powers and adversaries to the gods, like a girl that is connected a lot with the dead and the realm of darkness, Niflheim, and is close to the dead, and Odin sent her to tempt the dead in hell and became the leader of this place. Most of the people also are going there. It reminds me a bit, if you have ever played the game Dark Souls 3, the Lady of the Four Lords that is being described. Yes, like the last god is the goddess of mercy. that it is being described there. In the end of times, people will search for a motherly figure to engulf them and give them the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it is of this. You don't see her being violent in role. She has guests like Baldry treated as a guest in her hole. Also, if someone is similarly to ancient Greek Hades, right, he is passing permanently to the realm of the dead, and he cannot return.
Yes.
The same way, yes, the same way Persephone was trapped in the underworld and
Yeah.
Psyche.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been like regarding that, like different scholars that went into, like I said, into that regarding Balder and like kind of the solar symbolism and such. But dying, rising deity, like yeah, something linked to what you were saying, like Persephone and such.
And the other thing is that originally Jormungandr was thrown was like a very ugly worm that was very hideous in appearance and small. And Odin didn't like it, and because it was very bad, he dropped it away of the world and sent it and encircled the world, being the vertical barrier for Earth. And Fenrir was also being outcasted because of his growth and might, that he couldn't be bonded down and he was becoming so big.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tyr was involved, and then they ended up binding him. And then with Ragnarok, he breaks free, as much as his father Loki does. But there's with that also just if you think about regarding the treatment of kind of Loki's children, I don't know, it makes one wonder, like how it would have been then if the gods wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, seems like it was a self-fulfilled prophecy.
Yeah,
But the weird thing of it is that at that point, Odin have already attained divine wisdom. He even gives
yeah,
shape to the the Furthak, the runic alphabet,
yes,
trying to like create the sacred geometry of creation,
yeah.
and yet he was fooled by his own emotions. I mean, all powerful doesn't make you infallible, it seems.
So it seems.
He's very engrossed in the poem itself. Like, what happened, what was going on in the mind of Tyr when he put his hand on Fenrir's jaw,
I don't know.
knowing what will happen. What was happening to Fenrir itself? It's, I guess it's up to interpretation, because usually Fenrir is used as the boiling negative parts of yourself bursting out. But there is a sense of injustice in there that it's almost never addressed.
I kind of
It was
think
even
so.
used. I will even think that the figure of Fenrir was used to ostracize the the wolves in general, right? Like, yeah, wolves are evil because, yeah, Ragnarok happened, and look where we are, right?
Hmm.
it's it's a little silly.
It is a little.
Also,
Yeah, you can't tame it. You can tame your own beast, but I thought it was a matter of maybe mutual respect.
Yeah.
You respect your own, like, wild emotions, that part that you give in to your shadow self. Don't try to suppress it, don't try to
Mm.
uh, tame it, or pretend that it's not there. Like, you cover it under a mountain, literally.
Yeah.
But it won't go away.
Mm.
fun fact is that Odin has two wolves of his own
Yeah.
that they are called Greedy and Gluttonous. And what is crazy is that I feel this is a psychologically repressed fear about the two wolves that are going to eat the moon and the sun, the children of Fenrir. And deep down, he fears Fenrir, and instead solving the problem by himself, like not creating all these parts of events. In a sense, he's putting the lobster to boil into something very good for the world and ominous for the gods, in a sense,
Hmm.
with the whole thing he's doing. He took two wolves that he tamed and he feeds with the leftovers in Valhalla. So, if you think of it, this is a bit weird. Like, there are two wolves that are hunting the sun and the moon. There is Fenrir, and also, like, his warriors wear wolfskin.
Yes.
They take out their mother, their mod, in a sense. It comes out their mood, their vile mood. If controlled, it can be the warrior's rage, the warrior's power. But if this is completely inverse and coming out, I think Fenrir is the personification of this anger and lust for power and war, completely consuming someone.
Hmm.
And even Odin couldn't deal with it.
That's even more tragic. It's,
Yeah.
if by what you're saying, Odin might have become unable to do something about it, and in the end condemned himself knowingly by his own actions, trying and failing over again, making it worse. Hmm. Then is the, I don't know if there is a symbology with the offspring of Fenrir, Hati and Skull.
Yeah.
both chasing the moon and the sun, and they never managed to catch them up until the Ragnarok, where the moon becomes bloodied and the sun extinguished. It's, I don't know, there is like this duality between the sun, the like in astrology, the self, and the moon being the psyche. Both of them dying, but not being reborn at all in the Ragnarok. It seems like there is it seems finite in the story. But then again, what were the motivations behind the offspring of Fenrir? It kind of gives the hint of the very nature of Fenrir itself. I don't know, all consuming, as Anastasios said. It cannot be controlled. But why did it grow? I think somewhere I found that
Yeah.
the the reason why Fenrir keep on growing and becoming wild, more savage, it was because it was kind of like a reflection of the own violence of all the other warriors surrounding it. Like that violence becomes a reflection on Fenrir, and thus it grows. Thus it starts to lose control of itself. It cannot help it because it's a reflection of everyone around it.
Hmm. I think from a Jungian lens, because I've looked into Fenrir as an archetype before, and it connects to the shadow from a Jungian lens. So it's kind of like I guess the split of parts. I guess the more aggressive split of parts that like get pushed into Fenrir as a kind of a container, but then because it's not, I guess, like dealt with, it just comes up in this kind of manner. But that's kind of is what happens when it comes to the shadow, when it's not dealt with like consciously, and it is like pushed into a cave and just just left there, because then it will come out in very vicious manners. You know, and the sun and the moon, if I think about that, it also from a Jungian but also alchemical links to, like, you know, the emotions, I guess, to some degree, and like consciousness, but also, you know, it's the masculine and the feminine at the same time too. And normally, I guess in the process they come together, and then kind of like, you know, form kind of like a union of opposites, you know, and then there's the transcendence and all that kind of thing. But it seems like, because I've been looking into it from an alchemical lens too a bit, but with this in mind, which I had forgotten about, the alchemical lens doesn't really make any sense anymore. Like regarding, it really does seem to be like, the shadows set loose, kind of like making this union and this kind of like finding actual balance pretty difficult, if, you know, it is indeed being swallowed and destroyed. Even though, from what I remember, the sun does produce a daughter that takes over after Ragnarok. But I don't know what the fate of the moon is, though.
If I remember correctly, the moon too produces an offspring that they are hiding under the sea, and they will come out of the ocean after it.
Okay.
The the thing is also like Ragnarok, both the dead in hell that are preparing to face the living in a sense, and the warriors in Valhall,
Yeah.
they are being signed like they are alarmed by a rooster that lives in its realm. One is golden and one is rotten red. The one in hell is rotten red, and they are shouting in order to uh, gather the warriors in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends in stanza 41. Surtr a Haugi. He sits there on a pyramid, Oxlo Orpu, and he hits his harp. Hugjar Hirdir, the herder of giants. Gladr Egther, the happy Egther. This person is in hell. And then it says, Gol onum, he shouts near him, E Galg Vizi, in cuckoo-like tree, a bird kind of structure, uh, Pagnaudr, honey, uh, well, a well-read uh, chain, Saer Chaldr Heitir, who is being called Chalar Heitir. So, and there is another rooster, Gol Osum. So in hell there is a shepherd, and also there is a shepherd in the underworld, one of the chthonic deities in ancient Greek mythology that tends the cattle of Chase in the fields of the underworld. And this is very interesting that he is also a happy musician. And we see in the next stanza the rooster of the gods. It says he yells by the gods, near the gods, cooling Campi, the golden comb, Sa Vekr Holda, which who await the people at Cherja Podros of the fighter father. It is an epithet for Odin, Cherja Podros, like the arranger of the warriors. And Anar Gelr Fir Jord Nedan. And under is shouting from under the earth. Surtr Raudr Hani Dead Red Chain at Solum Kelyar in the halls, in the salons of Chel. I was thinking if the chain described above, uh, which is Hjalar, is in Hel, the one that brings together the dead in order to fight and the giants against the gods.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have Loki coming out of his abode that he is trapped. It's time, by the way, to describe a bit his torture. What was happening is one of his sons was transformed into a wolf and ate the other, and the third son that he had with Diggin, they took his entrails and they cuffed them with it around the legs and around the hands, and on and off, like on a whetstone in a sense, on a cutting stone. And they also wrap him around his waist, completely immobilizing him with his sons and trails, which became very hard like iron. And the snake pours poison over him, which is held by Skadi, and his wife holds the bowl to keep the poison in check, but each once in a while the bowl becomes full and poison
Yep.
spills onto Loki. So she has to pour the poison away, and Loki starts to shout in agony and anger, and the earth shakes. He reminds me a bit also the giants in Greek mythology, and Gelados at times tries to escape from his prison.
Mm-hmm.
We have earthquakes.
Yeah.
So, as one is that we have a ship bringing the people of Muspelheim. Muspelheim.
Yeah.
It is not a very detailed place. What is its role in the North myth, other than bringing its lord, Surtr, the Darkened One, who has hate for the gods and makes the blade that is going to burn the sky. And he brings his forces with him to fight the gods in Ragnarok. And also we have Loki handling their ship that is called, if I have it, he is coming together with his brother Pylade,
Mm-hmm.
with his ship Naglfar, that might be meaning the mm, the nail fairy.
Yes,
Uh,
made out of the nails of the dead, if I'm not mistaken.
mhm. So it says Hrimr, Hekr, Austan. Hrimr leads from the east. Chevis, Lind, Fyrir, raising, heaving his shield forward. Snisk, Jormungandr. He turns around Jormungandr in Jotun mode, in a giant's mood. This is similar to the warrior's race. Ormr, Knur, Unir. The snake hits the waves. And Ari Hlakar, the one, the eagle that flies from above, is being rejoicing, like seeing the death and the bodies that are going to be created from the conflict. Slither, Nai, Nidpol, he cuts the dead flesh with his beak. Naglfar Losnar. The Naglfar, the ship of the giant, is seen on the Kjolfer Austan. Ship comes from the east. Koma Munu Muspel. They come the ones from Muspel, Log Ludir. On on the sea, these people. And Loki Styrir. And Loki steers the ship. Para, Fifls, Megir. They are going, the sons of Vermin. Med, Freka, Alir. With the greedy wolf, everyone. Them, her brother, Caleb's his four. With them is the brother, Caleb, the brother of Caleb, in their course. Maybe both Loki and his brother, they are on the ship. or that means that Loki himself is with them. Vad med Osum, what with the gods, vad Olvum, what with the elves, Gnir al Jotunheimr. It knows all the Jotunheim. Eriru, the gods are thing, are coming into a thing, into a council. Thingya Dvergr, the dwarves are moaning, are shouting. Fear Steindurum in front of the stone doors. Bergr Visir. Know the knowers of the bergways, of the hillways, because they live underground. Vituderen Edachvat. Then it continues. Surtr Persunan. Surtr comes from south. Metswiga Levi with the burner, with the burner of twigs. Kin Afsverdi. It signed from the sword Sol Vativna, the son of the slayer god. Grot Brog Gnata, the great rock hill open, and Givr Rata, and Jovr Rata, and the giant women are roaming. Troda Halir Helveg, the people are walking the hellway, and Himnin Klovnar, and the skies are cleaving. How do you feel like from the description?
Mm-hmm. Mm, how do I feel regarding the description? I don't know. The first thing that stands out for me kind of is like you were talking about that the people are going the hell way.
Yes, like there is this sense
Yeah.
that many people will die in mass, the human, and
Mm-hmm.
it has to do also with the distraction that this world will bring.
Hmm. I don't know if I think about it from a more like union lens. It really does seem like, with everything what we have been talking about so far, just that I guess the cutting off of, I guess, the shadow, hiding it in the cave, symbolized by like Fenrir, or like, like how Odin throughout Jormungandr from the world, and these kind of things, that it seems to be that there's the shadow there, and they're not like aware of it, and through that lack of awareness of it, they're walking on the hell way, because because it starts to come out in all kinds of nasty manners, and it kind of like does lead one down like not a very good path, if one is not aware of these things, if one is not aware of, I guess, the potential for, well, I guess, the destructive behaviors, and one does not integrate them and make them into, well, creative and constructive ones. But yeah, go ahead, Anastasios.
Let's continue with the doom of Odin. Da kommer Hlynnar. Then he comes Hlynnar. It is an epithet for Odin. Harmr Anar Fram. Another, no, it is my mistake. Hlynnar is the name for Freya. It comes another pain for Freya after the death of Baldur. Odin fair with Ulf Vega. And so Odin fares to fight with the wolf and bunny Belja, the killer of Beli. Beli. Beli, I think it is a giant. Bjartr at Surtr. Sorry, my mistake. And the killer of Beli goes, being bright, goes to fight with Surtr. It is Freyr, the killer of
Yes.
Beli. So, yes, on this, I corrected it. Da mun Frigjar falla Angatyr. Then he fell the beloved god of Freya, of Frigg, the beloved god of Frigg.
Yes.
And it continues. That kommer Mikli Mogr Sigfodr. And then he comes the great child of Victory Father, Víðarr. Vega are at Valkyrie to come and face the clay animal. Later, Han Megi Hredrun. He lends, he let him, his son of Hredrun. It is the name for Odin. Ah, no, my mistake. It is a name for Loki. Hredrun. He led into the Mount Umstada to stand into the child of Hredrun, Hjör, a
Mm-hmm.
sword till his heart, sa her
Yes.
heavenly father. Then he takes revenge for his father. This is an old image of Víðarr playing Fenrir stand in the mouth and reaching out to the heart. Also, I was thinking many times.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard like a myth that if you hold the knife inside of a hurricane, that is going to protect you?
I've not heard of that before, to be honest.
I have heard it like in my country. There is this thinking that if you stand in the middle of a hurricane, uh, like this is called the heart of the hurricane, and holding the knife, you are going to be protected. And I was thinking, like, what is it to not be engulfed by oblivion? In other versions, he uses his mighty shoe
Mm-hmm.
to push on the jaw and rip it off, like to break completely the trap kind of mouth that is a kind of worldly better than overcoming death in life when everyone else dies and being smashed by the teeth of
Yes.
Fenrir. He undoes them in a sense. Víðarr.
Mm-hmm.
He takes all the harshness and the, let's say, fatality of these jaws, being it fatal and not fate, and he rips them open. And
Yes.
also, in such a way, he reminds me of a black hole, Fenrir, that you have the power to undo something that it is imminent and engulfs everything. And this is very interesting. As Odin and his brothers killed the biggest beings and created the world, His son is undoing for one time oblivion to go forward.
Yes.
Then we have the fight of Thor with Jormungandr. Da Kumr in Mary Mogr Hlodlidnar. Then it comes in the famous son of the earth, Gengr Odin's son. He comes the son of Odin with Wolf Vega to fight with Wolf. As Wolf many times are described being enemy-like or
Yes.
just as enemy of society or God. What is outside the yard or the garden, is a predatory like being, a wolf
Mm-hmm.
most of the time in the Norse stories. And it continues, Debr Han Avmodi. He killed him out of rage. Midgard's Veur. The the guard of Midgard. The guard of the Midland closes. Munu Halir Alar Heimstod Ruvja. All all the humans will be driven out of their homes, will abandon their homes. Gengr Pet new, he will walk 9 steps. Jorgimnar Bur, Jorgimnar Bur, the son of Fjorgin. It is a name for earth, this one,
Yes.
because Thor is the son of the earth. Neper, no, Nepi, losing his strength at last. Fra Nadri, from the adder, from the venomous snake. Nivs Ogvinum. Uh, Nivs Ogvinum, it means that doesn't have shame for its wrongdoing. Ogvinum means without social shame, and needs, it means like bad action, like lowly action.
Mm-hmm.
So it continues, Sol ter Sortna. The sun will be darkened. Sortna is the same root as Surtr. Surtr means the darker. Sigr fold in Mar. The earth will sink into the sea. Verfa up Himni. Cheidar Tornur. They will be erased from the sky the stars. Geisar Eimbi. Uh, the great arson, the great flame, it rages with Aldnagr against the life-giving tree. Laker Harhiti. It plays, this is poetic, it plays highly the heat with Himin Shalvan, with the sky itself.
Mm-hmm.
So the world is being burned, and we see this purification through fire in many traditions.
Yes.
It is described again that the world is being torn apart and Garm is released from hell. This is a stanza put as a filler many times in the poem. And there it says, Ter on up comma. It says, coming from up, Odru, Odru Sini, for a second time, Jord or Egg. the earth out of the ocean, ίδια γρόνα, evergreen. Pala forsar, they fall, the waterfalls, Nigr or Ivir, against the eagle flies above, that may mean that the conflict has ended and the dead have been slain. And
Yeah.
also, when you see the eagle flies above, it reminds me a lot like there is a journey, a new journey coming up. Like you have again the daring for life. There are new heights to be conquered. This is also why you see it a lot as a motto.
Mm-hmm.
The eagles say, even in ancient Egypt and even in America, when they have their nationalistic quote, they have the eagle flying over, and then you have another image.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a symbol for a new good start. Sa Alfjali Fiska Veidir. He sees, so he sees through the eyes of the eagle too, the witch. He
Yes.
sees from the mountain. Oh, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Sorry, I forgot my charger and they returned it to me. So I had them thanked
Okay.
in the shop that was having us. Fiska Veidir, she saws from the mountain people hunting fishes. So people are living again.
Mm-hmm.
The humans after the destruction, like it is Liva, and the other one, if I remember correctly, it means evergreen, something like this.
You mean Lifthrasir?
Leaf Tracer, correct.
Yes.
The Life Tracer and Life.
Yes, exactly.
This is the new couple that will repopulate the earth. And
Yeah.
then the gods also are described in the next part of Voluspa, finding again their places. Venus, Aesir, Ida Valley. Aesir are found in each other in Ida Valley, in Work Vale, something like this, Work Valley. Ok Moldinur, Matkan, Duma, and the ones who are underworld, like the earthly thin of the earth, they judge. I believe this is Jormungandr,
Mm-hmm.
the thin line of the earth they judge. Ok, Minas, Star, and they are remembering there Megin Duma, the great crisis, the great judgment of the great judgment. Of our symbol tier and about the mighty god Odin, Fornar Rundr, ancient mysteries. Fornar Runar, this is the correct one. Like ancient mysteries, they bring down together with them the runes that Odin and the
Yes.
secrets that he knew, taking the inheritance from the previous god. Also, I have the sense that they assume also the same name. Like Magni is called Thor again in the new world they are making,
Mm-hmm.
and called Odin. They are a new kind of each one of the old gods.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Þar munu eftir undursamlegir. Thereafter, they are wonderful, wonder-like things happening. Gulnar Tovlur with golden pawns. Again, they start playing a kind of chess, the god.
Yes.
A grassy finnask. On the grass, they find. It is like a movie actually, as the gods were rich and they were in a good time and they were playing with pawns and they met adversity and they became who they are and took strength. You see, again, they find the pawns and it starts again. It's like the second part of a movie.
Very much so.
There's is Ardraga. These from the first days, Atar Hovdu, that were taken. And then it says about this land that they made. Munu Osanir, there uncut hay, Akrar Vaksa, the fields are increasing. Sols Mun Al Batna, uh, all the bad things are becoming better, are being optimized. Baldr Mun Koma, Baldr will come. Bua their other Ok Baldr. There they will live Odr and Baldr. Hrop Sigtoptir. Hrop is also a name for Odin. The valleys of the victory valleys of Hrop.
Mm-hmm.
Vel Valtivar. Well for the slay god. Now because they have the wind inside, the gods, they're called the slay gods. Vitud en edahvat. He continues the wit. Sal sal terhon tanda. They stand there. She sees a new hall being standing. Solu fegra, more beautiful than the sun. Guli sakyan, with gold being roofed. A Gimle. Gimle
Yes.
is the new paradise.
Yes, I think that's where nobility will live and spend their lives like in a pleasurable state. And I think also there's also another one that survives Ragnarok where like the good ancestors survive, something like that too.
It reminds me a bit also Elysium.
Yes.
All the
No, it
star
does.
just like the fields, the sun, the golden hole, like it's interesting.
Yeah. Agreed.
Thal Thal Skulu Tugvar Drotr Bygja. There the faithful soldiers are to be duelling. Ok Aldraga until the days of their lifetime. In this Nyota, they will enjoy bliss. And let's see how it all ends. This is very good to be true. There kommer ini dimmi. There it comes one dim, like darkened. Dreki Flugandi, flying dragon. Another Fran, uh, an other that is seen far,
Mm-hmm.
neither neither fjolum. From under forward in front of the nether mountains. Berser in Fjordum. He bears in his wings Fligr vol Ivir, while he flies uh, above the valleys.
Mm-hmm.
Nidhogr Nei, the dead corpses. Nidhogr. This is Nidhogr. Exact translation of his name is the Nether Cutter, the Nether Hacker, the one who is on the roots of Yggdrasil, gnaws them out,
Yes.
and has a shape also for the upper world, and is the enemy of the eagle that is above Yggdrasil. And at one time he is going to be released, and he keeps on his wings like the evilest of humans, like a carrier. New
Mm-hmm.
moon Sogvak. Now she will sink. It says about the witch, and she sinks down and loses consciousness.
So in a way, like you said, it's kind of like then foreshadows like another event or something else happening. In a way.
Correct. Like it wasn't going all of this to be let down as that. The whole game of the world and how it was settled. It had enough of loose ends and evil forces to come threaten God again and ever again. So this is how we have all this legendarium with a big bestiary and every kind of ill fortune for the strong men that make good times, and the good times make them merry and they enjoy their life. And at one point, they may face the next Ragnarok to bring again strong gods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that is kind of one thing that I'm seeing with all of that is that there is very much a cyclical nature towards, with regarding to that kind of like an eternal return kind of process, where the same patterns are being played out. The same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Also, it gives me a sense of the karmic circle.
Yeah.
Like it says in a previous stanza that in hell, the ones who are going down that went against their vows and they eat other humans and they are killers of brothers and relatives. They are all coming and being consumed by Nidhogg,
Mm-hmm.
like the belly of the beast.
Hmm.
And then again, we have the description of Fenrir and his children. So this is very interesting, and I feel like Ragnarok is the core event in the Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm. So why exactly do you feel like it's the core event of the Norse mythology?
Well, half of the things Odin does are being ushered by the fear of being consumed by the wolf, and his civilization will end because of the wolf. And so he gathers the dead. So he tries to find more knowledge. So he tries to find faithful allies, uh, and so on. He's staging also his own death, his fear. is
Yeah.
all the events that are happening. It is possible that even the invulnerability of Balder may be connected to Odin's fear for death. He made Balder immortal not completely out of love, but as a need to overcome his fate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you put down the whole story of the Norse mythology, it is revolving around Odin, around how people go to the underworld, about Thor fighting the Jormungandr serpent,
Yes.
about Loki being a trickster and at some point it will be not acceptable or the things that he is doing and he will be imprisoned. All the events lead to Ragnarok. And the crazy thing is that God knows that Ragnarok will come. He tries to keep a faith like Odin knows about Ragnarok. And he doesn't trap Loki directly. He tries to see where this is all going. And in the end, when it is beyond acceptable, he has to imprison Loki in the end.
I don't know, for if I, if we look at like this entire story from more like a Jungian lens, it's very much then becomes a clash of the shadow and I guess the celestial, the consciousness. So it's kind of like a clash between the two, leading to this big kind of like point of destruction, and then going kind of, yeah, resetting the cycle again.
Yes, and also an interesting part we see is also that the gods, even though they were seeming so celestial and good, they had a darker side that is being described by Loki in Lokasena when he scorns the god in a sense of poetic battle.
Yes.
And he shows out how bad, promiscuous, without morals, full of pride they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the gods know the role and what will happen in Ragnarok, saying, that your children will die by Víðarr, that Thor is going to die by Jormungandr, and that it is described. They know what will happen.
Hmm.
I wonder if they have accepted it or they fight against their fate. And by fighting against their fate, they keep on course, trying at least to bring a second war that is going to survive Ragnarok. If Ragnarok is unavoidable.
I guess it depends on like I guess it really depends on I guess how you would approach it. I mean, the cycle of death and rebirth itself is kind of unavoidable, because I mean, in that sense, it happens, with civilizations. It happens with with anything, because nothing is permanent. So in that sense, yeah, that's one part of it. But then again, from a psychological lens, it is also kind of like that the very repression, and the sense of quote unquote stability that one, like, one thinks to create by doing such, what a society can do to some degree as well, then it also just is that leads to the very eruptive thing that kind of then ends up dooming it in the end, because you cut yourself off from the I guess the life-giving, like, you know, the more like instinctual, primal kind of energies of society. And you cut yourself off from that. But then, yeah, I don't know, like, you know, there's then Ragnarok. But then, if I look at, like, you know, more the going way further back in time, looking at, you know, with the choreos and like some of those connected like rides and the kind of like sovereignty kind of goddess that like Frigg used to kind of represent, you know, and other like Indo-European goddesses too, you know, and the function that they seem to have had is one where there was like a mediating function between kind of these two, kind of like, you know, to bring back in that's been outcasted into the whole, to try to find a place for it kind of approach, where I know for a fact that beginning of the Bronze Age, kind of like it started to slowly fade away till, like, you know, we hit more like the Iron Age, you know, with the Romans, and they started to forget about it, and I mean, by the Viking Age, it seems to have been pretty much like lost as well. But, you know, if that kind of mechanism is not there, you know, in society, but also psychologically, you know, for people too, because, you know, that sets up like a psychological kind of problem too for, you know, for the society and the individuals, then the shadow and these things then, you know, are pushed into some kind of cave or other realm, or like, you know, people even to some degree, you know, depends. But like, and the society thinks like it has bought itself stability, and like, oh, we're all, but what they're not realizing is that they built their entire society on an active volcano, and they're just like thinking like, well, if we put this big ass cork in there, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Till the volcano says boom, and there it goes. And I kind of feel like with Ragnarok, there's kind of that kind of thing missing, like to, I guess, yeah, find a place for that, for Loki, for Fenrir, and for, you know, yeah, to get, because there's like kind of this dualism there, I feel, you know, between the two things, and they clash and fight, where I do think there's something, you know, higher possible. You can see with like different, yeah, some different, I guess with these choreos, rituals connected to the sovereignty goddess, you know, bringing them back into society, but, you know, also with like Dionysus and like these rising and dying deities, more like, you know, towards Greece and Rome and such places, that there is like, they had to, they started to basically figure out this kind of like process of like, you know, doing this, I guess doing mini Ragnaroks on a yearly basis to like have like this kind of death and rebirth happen, so it's more of a revitalization than like a destruction, where it becomes destructive. Because, you know, we know with like with the Proto-Indo-Europeans, with like Manu and Yemu also, for instance, you know, and the creation of the world, this kind of sacrifice and this element of sacrifice is, you know, part of that, of the upkeeping of the world. You know, that's why they would like sacrifice the cattle to the sky god and, you know, the sovereignty goddess, and that's why sacrifice was there. But, you know, then when that equilibrium and that kind of like isn't maintained, and there isn't this like kind of like continual cycle of like conscious death and rebirth and sacrifice of something, I would say sacrifice of one's hubris, and to create like and to update the order basically that you've created, you kind of do create Ragnarok. And I think that's what we can see with like the whole with Norse mythology at that point, and with this story of Ragnarok. It's like they have not updated their order or their sense of order. And in that sense, yeah, I would say they have some sense of hubris there, because life ever evolves.
Yes, this is true enough, and you see it also from the characteristics of the new gods that their names are more interactive with the world. Like you see Víðarr being as white also has to do with revenge. His name, the agonizer, in a sense, the one that was transformed facing the world and the
Yeah.
vile difficulty that it could bring. Then you see also Magni that is really attested by his strength and faces the challenging bigger than his father. Like he could pull out the legs of Hrungnir, if I remember correctly, when Thor was trapped by the legs of this giant as they fought.
Yeah.
And also other gods that came, like Forseti, that he has to do with arranging society correctly. Hrungnir himself, Vali, the need for punishment. Odr and Baldur also, they want to save the original archetypes of maybe opposite functions inside the Indo-European society.
Yeah.
The Indo-European society. It is very possible that even Yemo and Manus, if they're connected with certain people, they were depicting two different ideologies. One that has to do with life and death, and one has to do with making society, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also something to reach like a point of equilibrium inside the Old Norse mythology.
Yeah.
That the gods have made something great and out of the wilderness and so on. And the forces of nature, through the forces of nature, vile beings are blended in, like you see in the wilderness. There are the Jotnar, the giants, the eaters of men in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones who wield power that is beyond comprehension sometimes, and that they are very fierce and strong. And this is, in a sense, the power that the gods yielded as well. This is where they found their power in the material sense,
Yes.
taking Ymir and dissecting him, learning the giant magic, having blood of the giants themselves inside them. And also, I think the world of a giant is so deep and chaotic, and they cannot really see through it. that although gods like they fight and destroy giants all the time, you see even in the story of Utgard Loki,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there is a version of a giant king that is outside the known world in a sense, and they go and find him, and he defeats in various games using illusion and make them face like world better in notions,
Yeah.
make the Thor, Loki, and the two companions of Thor, the humans, he makes them face notions that they cannot defeat by a logical sense and put them against worldly values. He has them in check. And maybe it is that giants have this wilderness, but also this understanding of the world that God want to go again. And sometimes because they don't see clearly what they're fighting against, bigger values or laws of nature and so on, they come in circles. And this might be what Ragnarok comes at into the mind of those that thought and also brought down these archetypes and stories.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to respect and also see the world changed around us.
Yeah.
And this is where you find also the courage to go on, even though you may have prophecies of death, you may have prophecies of winning, of destruction, but in the end, you will have to face your fear and come on top.
In the end, yes. But regarding that with the ideologies that you were talking about, I find that very interesting too. But the creation of society, but also the life and death, because the life and death aspect very much reminds me of everything that I've found out regarding the sovereignty goddess and kind of what she's connected to most of the times. So it's interesting.
Yes, and even if you think of it, even the city is a goddess, like the notion of organized city. Ishtar, for example, or Inanna in Sumerian mythology, she is a goddess that demands sacrifice and she has power over societal order. She handles who is going to receive the prostitute, who is considered to be promoted as a hero, who is also a tamer of the beast. She
Yes.
put opposing forces for the common good of the city to come along each other. Um, I think, in a sense, this is what vaccinated God in their first days, and they created Asgard, and they created Midgard.
Mm-hmm.
And this too has its limitations. And God, like the people in their daily life, they try to find their life map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's just it's kind of coming back to something that I had said earlier, or much earlier, regarding the creation of civilization and like cities and such things. I think in a way it kind of sets up kind of. It's gonna sound maybe for some people a bit wild, but I think the creation of like the slaying of Ymir already sets up Ragnarok in a way, because they created this societal order out of it.
Yes, like the taming and objectification of the earth and the matter. Uh, it was a way from seeing the earth and the environment as something interactive or something that constrains you and also that you have to follow or listen to, that's something you could exploit. And because it had a reminiscence of something divine, yielding it and also carrying it around, it brings a sense of reverence by the people as well, like
Mm-hmm.
people revering the city.
Yeah.
They revere also a transformed offspring of the mother goddess that can be the goddess of the city. And in even newer forms, it could be a kind of technological mother or another kind of being as well.
Kind of reminds
I,
me. Yeah,
Mhm.
go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if this is a better version or evolve, or in a sense, by trying to do more, we lose part of our view.
Hmm. Anyways, regarding that with the city, I know from the research I've been doing, regarding the sovereignty goddess and those connected things, it does like trace back to this earlier sovereignty goddess that's more connected to the land than just the city. And I think there is, from what we can see, there is an evolution there, like you have been saying, from more a connection to the land to more towards just the city, towards just in with that move, there's like a move away from, like you said, now also with technology, there's a move away from nature, there's a move away from the more like instinctual kind of parts of the human psyche. And I think that's kind of part of Ragnarok too, if we think about Fenrir and like, in Jungian terms, for instance, and these different beings, much like the giants too, like how that kind of is the more wild side of our nature, and like the gods have are, they're the gods, but they're also half Jotnar. We are kind of in the same way. We contain kind of both. There's there's that side to us as well. We're both have the well, I guess there's both chaos and order within ourselves. But chaos is maybe not like the right word for it. It's more kind of like it's something we don't or like, I guess consciousness doesn't fully understand, but it is kind of what Ragnarok also is. It's the death and rebirth. It's kind of that kind of cycle of life and death, basically, and that kind of part that is very much part of the world itself too. Of the wilderness of nature, because that's one of the big laws of nature. That's what the sovereignty goddess was connected to, and like the feminine is connected to in many ways too. Different archetypes regarding that, and I kind of feel that that's kind of like the balance that is to be found, and it's you can see that too in the myth of King Arthur, for instance, too. There's that kind of myth, the Holy Grail, and that they're struggling with the exact same problem that in the Norse myth, they kind of seem to be struggling with as well. The conception of order as kind of like, the structures of society and those kind of, very structural things versus, life and death and the more like fluid kind of parts of life, and those two sides clash because the other thing can become rigid, like you said, they become merry, they in that sense of order, but then they become blind towards many things because life is evolving, it's constantly going through death and rebirth, and it's like constantly evolving and growing, and till it hits the point where the order that one created just doesn't hold up anymore. It just doesn't, and then it goes through its Ragnarok.
And you have again the sense that in the Arthurian myth, they have lost the knights their way, and they also try to find the. Sorry, I had a small accident, and they also trying to find their way in a different sense, going beyond their measurements and their living, like trying to reach out Holy Grail, immortality, or the cup that holds the sense of Christ, and different other kinds of symbolisms that are again connected with the vitality of the Great Mother, like the cups. In tarot, I think these are the feminine or the heart symbol as well.
Very, very much so. Yes, and the Holy Grail itself leads back to Nimue and the Lady of the Lake, and that kind of can be traced back towards kind of with the Celts, more like the kind of the like a mother goddess, and that's associated with her, like the kind of the abundance of life. But there's that's kind of what that seems to be. But there seems to be like similar kind of theme regarding that, like to find that balance between kind of both of these sides. But then there seems to be in the Norse myth, like kind of there's like a clash happening, and I guess then the clash levels everything, because I mean the people who would be then repopulating, I doubt they already have in the beginning like cities and like civilization and all that, like, so it puts them back in connection to the wilderness basically, and then from then on out, then they start building cities again, and then they grow into what it does, eventually, and then they become all merry again, and then very disconnected from from the world in that way, and then it collapses again, and it crashes. I kind of feel like there's link to that with that as well.
Also, there is a sense that Guinevere is the in-city goddess in a sense for Arthur.
Yeah.
And was it La Fey?
Yep.
Also called yes, the witch, and sister of his. So she's the Loki version. Funnily enough, her name sounds like Loki's mother, and she's considered like an evil version and the worst version that Arthur could have as a last deity, mother deity that he could connect it. It is like because he lost the sight of his life. You see, he doesn't have a son with Guinevere. He doesn't have a heir, a legitimate heir.
True.
He doesn't have a divine heir with the Lady of the Lake, but he has an outcast son that is his also nemesis and his punishment.
True.
I think the recording went very well on this.
Sorry?
I think the recording went very well on this, and it opened a very good mark to get into different kinds of guiding feminine archetypes, like feminine deities,
Mm-hmm.
both as seers and as establisher. And as symbolism of the city, this is a very interesting topic. I would like to get into it.
Oh, definitely. We can see for next year to go to go deeper into that. That's something that I do want to go deeper into myself too. Regarding this kind of symbolism, because I do think it's like one half of the one half of the puzzle, kind of like to figure out, because I feel with like Ragnarok and a lot of other similar kind of type of mythologies too, there seems to be kind of this underlying core of figuring out, guess, like this kind of duality, and get to this mechanism where there is a kind of like this updating of society, but also I guess the of ourselves too, because we're kind of like in a way we're part of it, and we make up that what is the society, and the gods are part of that as well, very much so.
The revolution as another kind of chaos camp, in a sense.
Mm.
But revolution not as resurgence or as a coup or as a riot, something else,
Yeah.
like going up the scale.
Yeah.
Did we stop recording?
Not yet, but we can stop recording if you want to. We can like wrap this episode up. We did for 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Like, I think we covered like the big parts of the Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I would say so.
And also it led a lot of openings for future talks. It will be very good. Like to talk about the goddess of the city, about the assimilation, the urge of the heroes, and how they go their journey and how they try to break out the cycles of fate. That reminds me a bit of Dark Souls 2 kind of motif.
Yeah.
And yes, it is an interesting path.
Oh no, definitely. It's just let me know in the server and the solar regarding the talks you were thinking about, and then we can see about it next year when this will happen, definitely. But maybe with that said, I would like to thank everyone for listening, and thank for everyone who has been here. Anastasios, thank you, and also Mysterious Stranger, who had to leave earlier. Thank you as well.
It was my pleasure. Actually, this talk I wanted to have for a long time.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting, like to put the imagery and grab again notions of Old Norse mythology and Germanic and Celtic history, and also how it connects with Indo-European mythology.
Definitely.
Like also like the instance with the Basils This is something I was talking with my girlfriend earlier this evening,
Mm-hmm.
and she told me also that it was a symbol for evil spirits, and this is because they were putting it outside the house on the window to fend them off because it smelled ominous to them as well, like an evil fighting evil kind of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Things that I didn't know, and I would like to see if there is a connection with Loki as a malevolent spirit and the mistletoe as a weapon of revenge.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally would not know, but if you find some interesting things out about that, then yeah, I mean, if the moment comes, then you can sure share about it. But
Also,
yeah,
yesterday was Yol, by the way.
correct.
Yes, the biggest night.
Yeah, but yeah, for the episode, I would say yeah, thank you everyone, and with that said, I would like to end this episode for now. I would like to say to everyone watching and who is here a very happy new year. Hope you had a good Christmas as well, and see you all in the next year. Okay. Bye bye.
Have a good one.
Yes, have a good one.